Okay, are you ready?
Ready.
I'm Robin, and this is nature weaving. So nature weaving is extremely loose. So just relax. There's no set way to do everything. So for the 21st Century BIPOC Artist Series, we feature artists, but we've also started featuring different cultures. So I focused on the Toltec culture. I don't know if you're familiar with like Don Miguel Ruiz and the Four Agreements, and him and his sons have written all these books, and they explain where it comes from Toltec culture. And Toltec, for them, the interpretation of Toltec is artist, but it's a very broad term, meaning you're the artist of your life. Like whatever you're doing, you are creating your life. So it's not a discipline, it's a mentality. So that really interests me because I do so many different things. And so whatever you do, if you do it with artistry, then that's your art. And you could be a doctor or a geologist, it doesn't matter. It's incidental what the activity is. So there's a little history of the Toltecs. They really flourished in the 10th to the 12th century. So it's a very, very old traditional culture. And they have a lot of sacred rituals and altars and totems and medicine bags, all these ways that they create sacred objects and use them. So, and you can read the quote from Jose Ruiz. So the idea that I really was inspired by was you get to put the power into the object. The object itself has no power, but if it has meaning to you, like I look at this particular kind of yarn and I really love it. I love that this is like rope and this is like a little eyelash. So this becomes kind of a powerful object for me because I feel connected to it. So it's just the connection. It's random, it's arbitrary, but it's all based on you. It's what you bring to that object. You bring the power to that object. Okay, so that's kind of the overarching concept. So in nature weaving, and I'll show you some samples, this is kind of the style of weaving. This is not a nature weaving because there's nothing real natural in here, but this is the looseness of it. So if you want to start with this kind of driftwood or sticks, and there's tons of materials. The way this is, it's not a real traditional weaving where you're going back and forth, keeping it really tight. It's going to be a rug, it's going to be a blanket. This isn't that. This is all expression. And you can do that. You're totally welcome to do that. It's very time consuming. But this is about the expression, the materials that you choose because they speak to you, the objects you put on here. This has a lot of buttons and jewels and things, but what I have for the nature weaving is a lot of rocks and shells and feathers and wood beads. I try to keep all natural materials, okay? So then, let's see. I'll just introduce the materials to you. So this is a kind of a conventional weaving. Tobin did this. So it's very tight, but it's loose in the way the design is, okay? So I just wanted to show this as an example of this would be like a really kind of tight, disciplined weaving, which you may do or you may not. Either way. So there's a lot of yarn, there's a lot of string, there's trim, there's crazy pieces of stuff. So if you want to gather around here, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to do it because I have this taped down. Can you guys see? And you can come up the middle here too.
Actually, I might be a little further open.
So if you're going to use stones, you can just tie a string around it, or you can wrap it very tightly and hang it, or you can have a string at each end and place it, you know, so it's tied on. So there's a couple of ways. This way where it's just a flat hanging, if you, and this is upside down for me, so you would be facing this way. This is the warp, and I didn't do it all the way across, but you can go all the way across. So when you put the warp yarns on, for this kind of loose weaving, you just loop it. So this is in half. Can you see okay? And you just run this through this loop and pull it. And you can pull it tight or loose or whatever you want. You can have them really close to each other. I did one where each piece was just over like a knot and they were really far apart. But that's up to you. But the easiest way is to loop it. You can also tie pieces. Like on this, the pieces are just tied all the way across, okay? And then it's just normal kind of weaving, you know, in and out, in and out. So this top part, this purple part, if you can see it, you know, it's just over, under kind of stuff. And then I just keep a stick, and when you weave it, one of the things about weaving is beginner weavers, when you're doing this by hand and loose, it can start to go in, like it gets too tight. So you can put a stick here to hold it in. You can cut it. This one, everything went through and then it got cut, like I did 3 or 4 here. And you can see, I just cut it and tied them. And you can look at this, we'll pass it around. So nothing was going around. It just was all cut and tied. And then something like this is how that went, where I just kept adding pieces and these just stuck out. Okay. So there's no, you don't have to get, like this is really good, tight, square. You can do it that way. You just have to kind of be more mindful of when you're going in and out that it's not getting tighter and tighter. And then, oh, the other one, where's that little branch?
What are you looking for?
That little branch that was like a Y.
Did it get put in with the others over there?
Any of these will do. So you can also, and there's a picture on the handout of this kind of thing, where if you take the yarn, you can literally just go around like that. And that becomes, even though it's horizontal, which should be weft, that becomes like the vertical warp yarns. And then you just weave in and out of those. Or you can just do this and then something else, and this becomes a weaving, and just add stuff to it. So it's pretty loose. You get the idea, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
Do you have to, like, for example, on that red ribbon, would you have to tie it on the end or just leave it there?
I did it this way because I would just leave it, but it's up to you. If you wanted to run it through and not this, by the time you weave everything, it's usually pretty tight. If it becomes loose, you can always put a spot of glue, but I just try to do it tight enough so everything stays. That's why these are all tied at the ends. Because if these were all loose, it'd be pretty wild. So there's yarn and string, cord. Here's tape if you want to do the kind that's taped down. And you can tape and keep moving down with your tape. Just make sure when you tape, it's got each piece of string, because then if you're working and it'll lift out, which is not a big deal, you just put it back. So you want to kind of spread those, not have them be all twisted. And then over here, there's regular sticks, normal sticks, little twigs, driftwood pieces. So here's these really nice pieces of stone, crystals. Wooden beads. These shelves, feel free to cut these apart. These shells, there's, what are these called? Cowrie shells, which represent prosperity. And then these little beads would have little faces on them. They're super cute. And feathers. And if you can't find anything that appeals to you, you're welcome to go downstairs and say, I'm in the weaving class, and grab stuff. Okay? So any other questions? So just have at it. And if you need help, ask me, ask Tobin. Tobin will put on some nice music. And really go for it. There's no big rules, no big right or wrong. Don't overthink it. Just try to, just whatever you connect with. There's also this stuff, which is very cool.
Oh, yarn.
It's just scrap yarn, quote unquote. And you're welcome to unroll it and fight over it. Okay. Okay. There's scissors. If you need to clip a piece of wood, there's some clippers over here. And if there's something else you need, just let us know. And have a lovely time. Yeah.